Hello, I'm going to be talking to you today about setting up the RM3A. When you get the RM3A, you'll get an initial RM3A unpacking list. We're going to show you today what that should look like. Understand that you may get a box or you may get a briefcase. We're just looking for the components that you're going to be unpacking and of course connecting. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'll put this aside. And the first thing you'll have here is you'll have a big box. This is box 2. So there's that, and then you'll have another box, and this will be box 1, and then we'll have another box, and naturally this will be box 3. What we're going to do is we'll take these boxes. I'm just going to put this to the side. I'll take box 1 since it is labeled 1, and I'm going to unpack it. This will be the black A&S box. Okay, so this is the heart of your system. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set that on the desk or my work surface area. I'll go ahead and take the box and then put it aside as well. Then I'll take box 2. And box 2 is simply, should have the laptop in it. So I'll go ahead and unpack my laptop. I'll put it right here next to the RM3A. From here, underneath that, you're going to notice that there'll be a set of foot pads. So here's my set of foot pads. Just general. You're going to notice that they've got 2 little clips, and we're going to be discussing that in greater detail later on. I'm going to go ahead and put this to the side. We have the last box, and this would be box 3. Box 3 will have a blood pressure machine. Understand that this blood pressure unit is a standalone. This does not connect to the RM3A, nor does it connect to the computer itself. It is a standalone unit only to take blood pressure from the patient and add it to the computer. So I'll put this aside. You'll notice that it comes with wires, and we're going to go ahead and show you how this connects. There's a set of red wires. Now, if you have, there's other machines out there in the field that it's actually, this wire is black. And the reason, it's just the same wire, but it will be black, and the snaps will go on just like this wire here. We're going to go ahead and show you that. This is the cable, and this cable has 2 ends. We have one that's a USB cord, and we have another end, and that looks like a printer cable. And this will actually hook to the black A&S box, and this will hook into the laptop, which we'll show you here in a moment. So now from here, I'm going to take the other content out. This is bag C, and what this will contain is it'll contain a pulse ox. Understand there's 2 different pulse oxes. We have what we call a rubber pulse ox. So that's a rubber pulse ox. And then we also have one that we call, that is a digital pulse ox. They're 2 different kind of system. One's digital, one's rubber. The rubber one, naturally, you don't have to plug into a socket. However, the digital one needs to be recharged. So this individual will need to be plugged in, and there'll be a wall adapter for it that, when not in use, will be plugged in to the wall. And this, of course, does not need a wall adapter. You would simply just plug this into the computer, and we'll explain that in greater detail later on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dismiss this box as well. Understand that with the blood pressure unit that you're going to put to the side, it does come with a power cord or a power adapter. This also can go off of batteries. We do recommend, however, that you use the power adapter and do not use the batteries. It is nice to have it on the go. However, it's more accurate if you use the wall adapter. So again, when you're unpacking this, you do have a choice to use the batteries and or the wall adapter. Unisource's recommendation, please use the wall adapter. From here, I'm going to go ahead and I've got all my equipment out, and at this point I can check my sheet and just make sure that I have everything on the list. That will help me. And then once I determine that everything is on the list, I'll go ahead and I'll open my laptop up. So I'll go ahead, and the first thing I want to do, just like in any situation here, is I want to plug in my laptop. The reason that this is so important is because we never want to run a test with this not being plugged in. Simply, with this not being plugged in, the test may not be as accurate as it needs to, and or you may have issues. So the laptop, again, note, must always be plugged in, especially while doing assessments. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to take my black and or red cable. In this case, it is a red cable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook it to the back of the black A&S box. So what I do is I find my adapter for the black A&S box, and what I will do is I'll go ahead and take it and I'll find the red sleeve. Now there are boxes that do not have this adapter. It's simply an icon of foot plates and an icon of hand plates. If you have that, it's a simple just a connector that looks a little different than this. However, the principle is still the same. I'm going to go ahead and connect it, and I'm going to snap it in and or just connect it tightly, and then I'm going to put my box back. Then what I will do is I will take my snaps, and you'll notice that one is black and one is red. I want to think my red will go on the left side of the foot plate, and as it's away from me, you'll notice that there's two nubs here. I'm going to make sure that this is away from me. I'm going to take the red one, put it on the left snap. I'll take the black one and I'll put it on the right snap. From here, I'm just going to simply set it on the floor so that my patient can put their feet on it. So I'll set it there on the floor. You may not be able to see that. That's okay. You know that the foot plate is there. From this point, I'm going to take my white cable. It could be whitish grayish. Understand that you have that USB part and you also have the printer port. I'm going to take the printer port side. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug it into the black A&S box. So again, I would just take this, plug it in, make sure that it's in there firmly. I'll put my box back down. From here, I'm going to take my USB portion of the cable and I'm going to go ahead and put it into the port in the laptop. So simply, you'll have two or three USBs, and they're usually one here, and then they'll of course be on the other side. There might be some other USBs as well. We ask you to put this in carefully. Make sure that if you notice, the white side is on the very bottom, and then there's an open space on the top. You want to look here at your laptop, and if I look at that laptop close enough, I see that there's a hub here, but there's open space on the bottom, and then so on the other one. I want to make sure that these two hubs don't match, because if I try to put it in this way, I will break it. I want to make sure that I fit it right in there. So this is on the bottom, the little white hub is on the bottom, the white hub is on the top, and I simply just plug it in and it slides in. Please don't force this. If you force it, you may ruin or damage the USB port. From this point, I'm going to go ahead and just set this down. So now what I want you to notice is that we have the RM3A and it's set. I have the foot cables connected to the foot plates. I have the RM3A connected to the laptop. From here, I'll take my blood pressure unit and I'll just, again, it's a standalone unit. That means that this does not plug in to the RM3A, nor does it plug in to the laptop. So basically, I'll just take this out of the unit out of it, and where I'm going to act like this is working, I'll just put it right here, but I'll put this over here to the side. Okay, now we're at a point where we have the RM3A set up. We have the blood pressure machine, standalone unit, does not plug into the laptop, nor does it plug into the RM3A. It's just to get the blood pressure. But I have the foot plates connected to the RM3A, and I put them down here on the ground. I have the RM3A connector connected to the laptop. And then, one last thing, I have my pulse oximeter. It could be, again, digital, and or it could be a rubber pulse ox. In this case, it's a rubber pulse ox. What I'm going to do is, again, this is a USB, so I'll take my USB hub, and I will plug it naturally into the RM3A. Please make sure not to damage it by forcing it. It should just slide in there nice and easy. So now what I'll do is I'll look into my pulse oximeter. Now I can do this here, and on the digital and on the rubber, you should see a red light indicating that in fact we have connection on that pulse ox. Now we are ready to begin testing the patient. Okay, now we have the RM3A set up and ready to go. Notice that we have the blood pressure machine. That's over here to the left, and on the left arm we have the RM3A here in front, and we have the laptop here. Notice that the foot plates with the red cable, you could have a black cable, are connected to the foot plates, red on the left, black on the right, and then we have our wire, and could be a whitish grayish wire that goes from the USB port of the computer to the ABI system and analytical system. We also have our blood pressure, or not our blood pressure, but our pulse oximeter. That is connected and on the patient. So now the patient is sitting quietly, feet are on the foot plates. At this point in time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the Renua RM3A software. So I just double click there. What happens is you get into a first screen. It's called the RM3A System Renua Medical Database Login. Please don't put a password or change the database. What we're going to simply do is we're just going to hit start. So we're going to move past that first screen. Once we do that, you're going to notice to the left-hand side, you'll see patient database settings and status report. I understand that you probably cannot see this screen. However, hopefully you have the computer in front of you, and as you're following along, you will see on the left-hand side patient database settings and status report. From here, I'm going to go into the middle where it says settings, and I'm going to click on that settings screen. When I do that, over on the left-hand side, you're going to see a device calibration and status report management. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on status reports management, and a box will appear. In this box, you can put physician's name and also referring physician along with the address, the phone, the fax, and the email. That's office administrative stuff, so that each report has that information if needed. What's really important though is your status report type. You'll have a full patient report. A full patient report gives you a summary, maybe 3 or 4 pages of that patient, the patient's status, and actually the testing. If you go to full physician's report, that gives you a full physician's report. Depending on the patient's health, will give you anywhere from 10 to 16 pages. Understand that these boxes must be checked under full physician's report. That's ANS baseline, ANS testing, PTG analysis, pseudomotor tests, and including suggested diet. 5 check marks to be checked in order to make sure we have the complete full test. Once those are done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit OK. So I hit OK, and then I hit OK again. And now what I'm at that second screen and ready to start the test. You're going to see add patient, edit patient, delete patient, add visit, delete visit, and edit visit. They're pretty self-explanatory. If I'm going to add a patient, I'm simply just going to hit add patient and add their name. If I'm going to hit edit patient, I may have misspelled their name or got something wrong. I simply would go under the name or the patient, edit, and change my information. If I do delete patient, of course I'm going to delete them out of the system. If I do add visit, if I have a John Doe who came in, and let's say that he came in a month later, I'm going to hit add visit. And the reason I want to do that is I don't want to put John Doe twice. The software will not analyze that you put the same name in, and will actually create parentheses or quotations, and after a period of time it will corrupt your database. So make sure you always search for the patient. If the patient is there and we're going to do another test, simply add visit. Do not put it under the same name or duplicate that name. We go into delete visit. If I want to go in, I have 6 tests. I'm going to simply delete a visit. I no longer need it. I would just go under the test that I want to delete under that certain name, and I would delete it. Under edit visit, I could go in there and change height, weight, something that I may have gotten wrong, hit edit visit, and then change those parameters. They're pretty self-explanatory. Under here now, what I'm going to do is my patient's sitting there quietly, rested and ready to go. Make sure that your patient, tell them it's not going to hurt them. The feet sometimes gets their heart rate going, thinking that they're going to get a little sting or what have you, which elevates the heartbeat, and then you'll get an inconsistent test. So make sure to understand that you tell them that it's a non-invasive test and that they're not going to feel anything. Okay, so that there again, we get an accurate test as most accurate test as possible. From here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit add patient. So I hit add patient. Right here, I'm going to just put John Doe in. So I'll put John Doe. And on the low here, it says EMR, EHR ID. You won't have that. Do not worry about that. Field does not have to be filled out. Of course, gender, male and or female. We're going to go ahead. I'll put female. From here, we have to have date of birth. So I will go ahead and put a date of birth. I'm not going to be too terribly accurate on this one because this is just showing you how to do it. So what I'm going to do is I just put a fictitious date of birth in there. Underneath that you have telephone, email, address, work address, email address, occupation, social security number. Understand, you're probably not able to read my screen. However, if you're following along and you're on the same screen, you're going to see these. Understand that this address, work address, email address, occupation, and social security number, that usually the patient is in the patient file. You want to ask them if they want you to include that. Usually they do not because it's already existing into the patient file and it will save you time. However, on the bottom there is a little key or a box that says not known. This is where we're going to put our ethnicity. Are we going to put white, Caucasian, black, Hispanic, Japanese, Indian, Asian, and or other? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to put, we're going to have a little fun with this and put Japanese, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm ready to go on to the next screen. Notice I'm on my third screen now. It has date of examination and time of examination. That will always default to the computer's time and date. So you will not be able to put those values in. From here I will put a height and weight in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a height in there. And I'll put my height. I'm just going to throw in a height there. And then I'll put a weight in there. I'm just going to throw a number in. And then what I'm going to do is it says daily activity level. Now what I want you to do is you'll read off to the patient. You'll say, what is your daily activity level? And you'll let them know. Is it very light? Do you stay home with no activity? Or is it 2? Is it light with a little office activity? Or 3? Is it moderate? Do you walk 20 minutes a day? Or 2 hours of sports a week? Or 4? Are you an athlete, professional? Do you compete? Do you train? You'll ask them. They'll reply. You will put what is the most accurate. I'm just going to put moderate. And so here, as I move down, there's a little box here that says lab tests. Understand that you won't have those lab tests. This does not need to be filled out in order to run the test. So if you have those lab tests, you can put those values in. However, if you don't, just simply ignore it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put reason for a visit. Reason for a visit, we have checkup, symptom evaluation, disease evaluation, and treatment follow-up. Most of the time, you're just going to be using checkup. If you go into an extensive test, you can go ahead and click symptom evaluation. And over here to the right, you're going to have a bunch of boxes that have categories. When you hit that, you're going to see these boxes light up, and now you can go ahead and check what applies. So if I go to disease, all of a sudden these boxes light up. If I hit treatment follow-up, all of a sudden these boxes light up. But you must hit one of these categories in order to check any of these boxes here. I'm simply going to do a checkup, and that's simply what you're going to mostly be doing. Down below it has random blood glucose. You probably will not use that. If you have those values, you can go ahead and put them in, and it will simply add to the report. If you do not, don't worry about it. Those boxes do not have to be filled out to run a test. At this point, I'm double checking my patient. I make sure that the pulse ox is on the finger, hands are flat, she's calm, she's relaxed. I have my blood pressure on the left arm. I'm ready to go. The feet are on the foot plates, bare feet are on the foot plates, and my snaps are indicated, are on the snaps. Make sure when you look at the foot plates that you make sure that those snaps are on those foot plates. Sometimes the patient will put their feet on there, and unfortunately sometimes snap off the little foot plate there, or the little connection. And then again, you will not be able to test. Okay, so now we've entered the information, and we're making sure that our patient is sitting upright, but they are relaxed. They are also, their feet are on the foot plates. We want to make sure we tell the patient that we do not want them to speak during the test. So during the test, they need to remain still and no verbal communication. We're at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I'm going to start my test. So here it's just asking me, is the blood pressure cuff on, which it is, and the pulse oximeter is on. I'm going to go ahead and hit start, and I'm going to get that blood pressure value. So as that is getting that blood pressure value, I'm going to hit OK, and then the test will begin. So we just sit here quietly. The test will start.
Phase 1. We are processing your heart rate detection and the calibration of the pulse wave and blood pressure wave.
So this is our calibration pulse. This is basically making sure that the RM3A, the ANS machine, is talking to the computer, and that the pulse ox is also talking to the computer, which is talking to the ANS box as well. So when this completes, we're going to move to the next phase. However, I will not talk over the computer. You're going to see that it comes up with a blood pressure value. From here, I'll read my machine, and at this point, I'm just going to put 120/80. You will get a different blood pressure result there, and then at this point, I'm going to hit OK, going to my second phase of the test.
Phase 2, baseline recording.
So this is our baseline, the second phase of the test, baseline recording. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my signal strength that's over here is a 6 or it's a 3 and or higher. If it gets any lower than a 3, then you might have to redo the test, because that means your pulse oximeter is not receiving a good signal from the patient to the ANS box. So we're at the baseline recording, and the baseline measures the heart function, electrochemical reaction response, and pseudomotor function, why the patient is relaxed. We'll go ahead and let this finish out. And then we're going to be moving to phase 3. Again, it will tell you what to do next, but it will also, you'll get an audio telling you as well what to do.
The test is completed. Please remove the foot plate. Phase 3. This is the time for the Bolsover maneuver. Click start only when the patient is ready to perform this test. Procedure. Patient should take a deep breath, close mouth and nose, and increase pressure in the head and hold for 15 seconds. A new blood pressure will be taken. Make sure patient has left arm relaxed and palm up.
So at this point, we have the Valsalva maneuver. What we're going to do is we're going to ask the patient to take their left arm, because of course the pulse ox is on the right finger. We're going to ask them pinch their nose, and what they're going to do is when we say begin, they're going to hold their breath and blow as if they're blowing a balloon. So we're going to do that for 15 seconds. We're going to tell them to please look at the hand here, the 15 seconds. At the end of that 15 seconds, they're going to breathe normally, instructing the patient, of course, not to hyperventilate at the end. So when my patient's ready, I will hit start. Patient pinches their nose, and we begin. There's a second hand that the patient will watch. At the end of that 15 seconds, they'll go ahead, release their nose, and then begin to breathe normally. Patient now starts breathing normally. In most cases, your patients will be able to hold their breath for 15 seconds. If that is not the case, let them just have them hold their breath as long as they can. Then when they cannot no longer hold their breath, have them release their nose and breathe normally. Again, being careful not to hyperventilate. We're going to go to phase 4 after this phase 3, which will begin shortly.
Phase 4. This is time for deep breathing. Click start only when patient is ready. Procedure. Patient has to inhale for 5 seconds and exhale for 5. The timer will start when the operator clicks start. The patient can adjust his breathing by following the timer.
So now we're at our deep breathing. The patient is going to inhale for 5 seconds, and then they're going to exhale for 5 seconds. They're going to do this a course of 3 times. So we're going to do this 3 different times. When the patient's ready, we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to ask the patient to inhale 5 seconds, starting now. Watching the timer, she inhales for that 5 seconds. Now she exhales for 5 seconds. We're going to repeat it again. She will inhale, and then again, she will exhale. We've got one more repetition. She will inhale, and then she will exhale. From here, she'll breathe normally, waiting for the end of the
Phase
test.
5. Click start only when patients stand up. It is time to stand up. Make sure left arm is relaxed. A new blood pressure is taken.
At the end of this is our phase, our last phase. What we want to make sure is the patient does not stand on the foot plates, because they could break those foot plates. So we're going to ask the patient to sit back, put their feet on the floor, and as she puts her feet on the floor, she's going to sit back a little bit. Now, she will not sit up at this point in time. When I hit my start, I'm going to ask her to stand up. So she'll stand up. I'll hit start on the blood pressure. Go ahead and stand up. And then what I'll do is hit start on the test. She will sit there, and what we want her to do is just remain still while standing up. Of course, what we're doing is measuring as we put a demand on the body. So what the machine's doing at this point in time is measuring the increase in heart rate and the demand that we're putting on the body, so therefore we can get our test. We'll wait until this finishes out. At this time, we're getting a new blood pressure reading, so we should have that result here pretty soon. We get at the end of this, you have a blood pressure value comes up. We're going to ask the patient to sit back down. We're going to read our blood pressure value, and we're going to go ahead and put that in. And I say, okay. It will process the information. And once we get this information, you'll see that the bars are across. And now what we need to do is save this information. So now what we can do is we can take the pulse oximeter off of the patient. We can take the blood pressure cuff off of, go ahead and take that off, blood pressure off. And what we're going to do now is we need to save this information. So there's two ways of doing this. The first way that we do this is we're going to save it as an electronic form. We're going to hit, now there's three icons here. There's patient database, settings, and status report. I'm simply going to come over here to status report, and I'm going to click on it. What this is doing is it's now creating a PDF. PDFs most computers can read. If you keep it in its raw format, the RM3A's raw format, you cannot transfer to any other computer. If your goal is to send this to a database or send this to another computer, it must be in PDF format. So again, what it's doing is it will flicker. What it's doing when it's flickering is it's developing or creating the pages from the test results that we have. And pretty soon we will have a solid test screen. Here we are in the PDF format. You have two tabs, one that says PDF Doc and one that says Wellness Program Doc. What we're going to do from here is we're going to hit PDF. I'm going to go over here to File Save. So I do File Save As. From here, I'm going to go ahead and put the patient's name. So I'll go ahead and just put John Doe. Whoop. And then from here, I'm going to put RM3A, because this is an RM3A test. The reason I do that is if you have an ABI, you're going to have ABI tests and you're going to have an RM3A test. You want to be able to go into your database and make sure you know what is what. So understand, I went ahead and I have this in John Doe RM3A, and I hit Save. And this is going to go into my Documents folder, so I hit Save. Once that's saved, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my Wellness Program. So that's the second tab that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and do a File Save As, and when I do that File Save As, I won't make any changes here. It just says Wellness Program John Doe. That's fine. I know it's part of the RM3A. I go ahead and I hit Save. Once I've done that, I've saved my information or my test into electronic form. And now when I get out of the RM3A and I go to my desktop, I can simply go to the Documents folder. And when I go to the Documents folder, I now have my John Doe and my RM3A report and Wellness report. If I double click that, and I do understand that you probably cannot read my screen. I'm hoping that you're following along as you're watching this video and you're following along on your own system. But as I double click John Doe, my report comes up and now I have my report. I can also print this. Now that I've saved it electronically, I would do a file and I would do a save as, I would do a print. And now if you're connected to your network, which the computer should not be online, the only time that the computers are online is if we're troubleshooting and or updating. We ask that you limit your online usage on the RM3A, or on the computer, only because automatic updates will corrupt your software. So what we ask you to do is get a dedicated printer, so therefore you can plug directly into the laptop and you can print your reports if you want to do that way. If you don't want to do it that way and you want to transfer your files, we ask you get a thumb drive, a transfer drive. They're just little USB drives that plug in, and what they are is extended memory. So then you would take your Documents folder and you would copy and paste to your thumb drive and then take it to another computer, so therefore you can send it electronically and or you can print it however you would like to do that. From here, let's say I already have a printer connected. I would simply pick the printer that I want, or the printer that's tied to the computer, and I would hit OK and I would print. This is how you conduct a test on the RM3.